just this little conversation about something that takes perhaps maybe too much of my time. Trophy hunting and achievements and things in video games. The idea for this came a couple of years ago. An old roommate of mine and I started batting around something we were going to call Hello, I Have a Problem. We did one episode and then it fell apart, but it was him making fun of me for an hour while I played My Name is Mayo and clicked a jar of mayonnaise 10,000 times for a platinum trophy.
I haven't done that yet. It's on my list. But
It's 2 plats for $1. Takes like an hour to get through. But yeah, so the nut of the question is like, why do I care? Why do I do these things? And y'all have both been pointed out at me as people who also care. Maybe too much. Maybe I'm being too self-disparaging about this. I don't know. Maybe. What do y'all think? How is your relationship with trophies and achievements these days?
I'll start this way. So I love it. And I had a point in my life where I think, Newbie, you might have a story similar to this, where I hit that one trophy where I'm like, why am I doing this? And I stopped for a while. And now I'm back on that horse. I think it can be harmless as long as it's, like anything, you don't go nuts with it. But
I can tell you the exact moment where I had that, like the exact fucking achievement moment where I was just like, okay, so it was just back during when I played more on the 360 and then I moved to PlayStation. I don't really turn on I don't even own an Xbox One, but I was playing Lost Planet 1.
Okay.
And I was trying to coordinate with people multiplayer sessions to get the online achievements. And there was a moment of like coordinating with people of like, oh, I'm free during this time, this is my schedule and all this, and just this moment was like, the fuck am I doing? Like, why am I going through this much effort just for a number, or just a point or whatever? And that's where I kind of shifted from, I'm gonna get everything in every game I play, to I'm gonna play games, but like maybe I'll get all the achievements in something if like I really enjoy the game. And just like sticking to going crazy on games that I actually only really enjoy.
I'm curious. I don't know a whole lot about Lost Planet particularly, but for the benefit of the good of the company, as it were, what was required for those online? Like, what sorts of things were you coordinating people to do?
It was mainly just that the multiplayer was dead.
Okay, so it was just like getting a match together.
Like that's really what it more was just like trying to get other people to log on to get achievements in this game that nobody played anymore, just because I wanted to see the number go up.
I actually did that kind of recently, but
it's a safe space. I'm curious. What was?
So I got back into trophies. I downloaded the PlayStation app, which is a bad idea because now it'll show you your percentages and everything right on your phone to taunt you even more. And what I noticed was I never got 100% in Little Big Planet, which is an old game because we're recording this in like 2020. So what I did was I may have, because in order to get the platinum for that, you need to create a level. You need to get like, I think 20 or 50 people to play it and like it and share it, and I think so. I may have created 3 or 4 fake PlayStation accounts to get on my phone, go to lbp.me and like a level I'd created. I may have tweeted and asked people to play it and things like that. So I did a lot of that basically. And it took a couple of days at least, but it did get done.
So I did Little Big Planet myself not that long ago, maybe 2 years ago. And I had the same situation, but I also had a situation where in order to get, and this goes even beyond platinum, this is for like full 100 DLC and everything.
Oh yeah.
The Pirates of the Caribbean DLC.
I did this too.
It's delisted. The only way I could get on it is I had to go to a website for a company that we will not speak its name. I used to work for them. They're terrible. And I had to buy a code from this company just to play the stupid Jack Sparrow levels. And I thought, this was long after I quit. This was after a severe acrimonious breakup between me and a multinational conglomerate. But yeah, I was sitting there looking at this going like, why am I giving these fucking people my money? Because I want that 100%.
Yep. Well, it stinks because, yeah, like, so I'm quote unquote lucky because I have Uncharted 2 on my list, and there's 2 multiplayer achievements that you can't do anymore because the servers are shut down. But quote unquote lucky for me, I did do those 2 before the servers shut down, like way back when. Unluckily for me, though, the DLC ones I didn't do, and that will forever never be 100%, and it will bother me. And then I'm like, well, wonder if I could like figure out how to make a fake server and get myself, and get into that whole scene. But I don't know, one thing at a time. I've only ever cheated one trophy, because on Steam it's very easy to do, right?
Yeah.
And it's the same trophy that I was like, I gave up on trophies for a while. It was an achievement technically, I guess, but it was 1,001 spikes. I was missing one trophy called Thompson Care, which is, I think it's like you collect 1 million gold, and the best way to collect gold is by doing the multiplayer game, or there's like little mini games there where you collect coins. I forget how you get an obscenely low amount, and you basically have to play this mini games like a couple hundred times. So it was simple enough that I started writing an auto hotkey script to do it for me.
So the game will literally play itself.
Yeah, because I realized it was just a really stupid grindy achievement I was getting nothing out of, and it was at least more interesting to me to cheat it that way. And then I realized, this is just like a stupid like little joke that they're doing, about how expensive things are. So I'm like, you know what, this is really not worth my time. So that one I just cheated, meaning like, I got one of those things that just like pops the achievement for you on Steam. Because just because the lack of the 100% was really bothering me. That's the only time I've ever done that, but I don't feel any regret about it whatsoever.
Zero shame. So backpedaling a little bit, you were saying that because you got into Uncharted 2 and you didn't get the servers are down. That's the thing. That's just gone now, right? Those DLC packs are gone. So servers shut down. That's a big problem amongst people who take this really seriously. There's lists online. There's whole Discords dedicated to just keeping track of what servers are at risk of being shut down and keeping timelines of when you have to get certain things done by. Would that turn you off from a game just from that alone? Because personally, I've got a copy of Bulletstorm right now, and I never actually played it. It's never gone into my PlayStation because the servers are down and all the online trophies are just, that's the thing. That would be a mark on my permanent record, as it were. Is that something that would ever concern you before starting a game?
Nowadays it would, now that I'm back into it. I think it would depend. So I'm really focused on PlayStation trophies, not for, I guess just because, I don't know, like I guess because I have a PS4 really, So like I wouldn't stop myself from playing a Steam game or an Xbox game or obviously Switch where there are no like achievements or anything like that. Where Nintendo is like, we're not going to psychologically exploit our customers, Not that
it's kind of nice in a way. It's a vacation.
Exactly right. Yeah.
But what if they did?
But funnily enough, Ring Fit has a lot of things like that, so that I look at. Anyway, that said, so no, it wouldn't stop me from playing a game, period. And if it was a really fun game, but then I might be like, all right, I would convince myself, like, okay, okay, fine, I could never get this, but like Uncharted, I'll never 100% that. So it would give me some trepidation, but I think I'd ultimately be okay with it.
But you would have to like take a moment to like, I have to come to peace with this.
Yeah, it wouldn't be a simple choice.
For me, extremely back in the day, that would have bothered me, but now that I am less to that degree, I can not care. I can just get into a game.
Final Fantasy 15 actually falls into this same kind of category. I want to play that, and I have to like feel out how I'm going to deal with the fact, because they have this, I don't know the full details, but I know there's this Comrades mini-game thing.
It's a multiplayer mode, yeah. They made, like, if you're familiar with the The multiplayer mode that
Oh no.
what's it called? Mass Effect 3 had the sort of cooperative multiplayer thing.
Oh
They kind of have a similar
yeah.
thing.
Well, that's
I didn't know
in...
this.
Oh, have you started 15?
I haven't started it. I was kind of intending like someday on doing it, but
Well,
tell me what's happening.
So the way it works is they put out an update, right? So the Comrades trophies for this multiplayer mode are part of the base trophy list. I think it's a DLC, so it'll affect the 100%, not necessarily the plat. I could be wrong about that, but I think that's how it works. But they re-released Comrades separately as a downloadable, download alone, whatever you want to call them, game mode. Kind of like how Uncharted did with its multiplayer back in the day.
Sure.
That has its own separate trophy list now for the same exact stuff, except now that they've done that, they've patched that whole game mode out of the base game. You can only play it through the standalone. So there'll be, on your list, there'll be Final Fantasy 15, and under the trophy list for that is all the Comrades trophies, which will be forever blank. And on your list below that will be Final Fantasy 15 Comrades, with an identical set of those trophies, which you can get.
Oh, I see. So
unless
they'll
you do something you were alluding to earlier, download software, set up a remote server. I don't remember all of the steps, but it basically tricks your PS4 into undoing certain updates back one at a time.
Oh my god.
It's nutty. And it's something I don't have the technical acumen or the patience right now for, but it's possible.
So the thing I was talking about with Uncharted 2, I don't know that that's possible, actually. Because I'll even go with, like, it's probably not possible, because what you would basically have to do is you'd have to, like, figure out Uncharted 2's old server protocol. And then, like, it's a whole process, you know.
You would need the code from Naughty Dog in order to make it work, right?
You could. So here's the deal: if you could trick it into thinking it was, because I'm assuming there's a mothership server it talks to that coordinates all the games, you know. I don't think you host it on your own system. Maybe I'm wrong. But in order to dole out the achievement, something's got to tell it, like, yeah, tell the client, the game, like, yeah, you successfully did this thing. So you have to pretend to be that thing, which means you need to know what language they're talking in general. So it would be really arduous. It would take forever. And part of me is like, the technical challenge is interesting, but also it's like, what?
And like the trophies themselves in that game are arduous enough as they are.
So their original, like, the base game multiplayer ones, which you can no longer get, they're, like, simple enough. It's just, like, play one match of this to try it. It's like literally play one match of co-op and play one match competitive, I think,
I believe, yeah.
Like, it's really not a huge deal. But the DLC trophies for Uncharted 2 are all things like, do 10 headshots, do 50, it's like that laundry list BS for trophies, I don't know if, by the way, if you allow swearing on your channel, so I'll be careful,
I cuss like a fucking fuck
yeah,
okay,
good.
Fucker.
Yeah, it's bullshit, but, it's the bullshit trophies.
I've done them. They're maddening. In 2, in particular, there's one that requires you, I forget the number, but you have to get just a ridiculous amount of kills. And it's like... It's very simple. It's very straightforward. It's the meat and potatoes of the game, but it's like 5,000 or some obscene number. And it got to the point where I had a little group of people. We would meet up every morning for a couple of hours and form queues of 2 people would hang off a ledge and everyone else would line up to get grabbed and thrown over. And then when you hit your count, you would cycle to the back, and it just took forever. And
the mental image of this is great.
Just like an old man hanging off a ledge going, whoop, just grabbing people by the shirt and taking them over one after another. 25 hours, 30 total into just doing that. And I got the thing, but was it worth it?
I'm not quite at newbies level where it's like, I'll only do trophies because I'll tell you what I do nowadays is I stream a lot of my stuff. And in 2019, I did a thing where I would get a new plat every month. And I'm still kind of doing that. I will say, like, some trophies are total slogs, but like some of them. So Bloodborne, I was missing 1 trophy, and I absolutely love Bloodborne, so I was super happy to get it. Yeah, absolutely. Other games like 36 Fragments of Midnight, much like the Mayo game, is a game I downloaded because I was getting really tired of kind of BS trophy slogs, and I picked one that's like takes you an hour to get, you know? Yeah. But you know what's funny is when I so part of the reason I rediscovered my trophy love is a couple friends of mine who like work at Rooster Teeth, like Achievement Hunter, invited me there to their studio and stuff. And that's where I'm like, because they used to do that kind of thing. And I'm like, you know what? That's what sort of reawakened it in me. And I checked the PlayStation. I realized I thought that I had no platinum trophies, which is why I'm like, I was shocked that I'd never gotten one. So I did that. Reality was I actually had forgotten to sync my old PS3, like the trophies, so it didn't register with my PS4. So I got my 12 trophies over the year. I figured that I resynced it, and I forgot about one platinum trophy I got, which was NCIS for the PlayStation 3, based on the hit show NCIS. Which is a CSI knockoff, but it's apparently about investigators in the Navy, if you didn't know was a thing. How you make a whole show on that is beyond me. They really reach, is the answer. It's like, hey, a naval officer got murdered on land, so let's investigate that. Thinking maybe, too, they were banking on, like, hey, maybe people will mistake this for CSI and not check too hard, you know, because it's close.
I'm going to be real. I thought it was like, I know of that show, and I thought it was just like a different season.
No, it's different. It's about the Navy.
William Peterson signed up for the service.
The only reason I know about any of this is that silly video game, too, by the way.
So I do achievement streams not as often, but sometimes, and the main thing that I do with them is I find like something to do that would take a bit for an achievement, but would make a good series. And by doing this, I get the platinum. So I've done five at this point. One was Bloodborne, doing all of the Chalice dungeons.
Oh god, yeah.
To kill the boss at the bottom.
Yeah.
One was Dark Souls 3, but on like New Game Plus 3, because it was the run where I finished getting all the rings. Two of them were Yakuza 0 and Yakuza Kiwami on Legend mode.
I did those. Yep.
Yeah, I haven't started those yet, but I hear they're huge, but I also hear they're worth it.
Oh yeah, they're really fun.
Yeah.
and for the most part, the achievement stuff in them isn't that rough. Outside of
it's not rough. It's some of it's grindy, but a lot of it's very fun. I'd say like it's 98% really fun, and then like there's like one or two things. Like the real estate thing as Kiryu takes a bit, and it takes a bit of real time. I mean, I don't know how much you want to spoil or not spoil, but like,
yeah,
I'll leave it there.
Yeah, okay, cool.
Two of the other ones that I did, because I forgot I did these on stream too. Dynasty Warriors 6 and 7, which for 6 I did playing all of the maps on the hardest difficulty, and 7 I did getting all of the final tier weapons. I remember grinding up every general to level cap in this game, and it took forever. Because that's one of the things, every officer achieves level 50. That does not happen naturally.
No, and you do get there is an achievement tied to that.
Yes.
Because that
it is literally called completionist.
Oh, fun. Oh, good. It's nice when they like acknowledge what they're doing.
Let me look up some of my achievements here, because I have that app. But well, I'm going to tell you another how obsessed I am with achievements thing, by the way. This isn't a 100% thing, but you know the game Siren for PlayStation 2?
Yeah, yep.
I had a hankering to play it. Got the PS4 version remastered, right? Didn't work. Crashed on startup. Absolutely wouldn't work. I tried everything, because I know when you mention things like this, people will jump in with like, did you try deleting and reinstalling it? Did you try updating your... I tried everything. Trust me. Swear. So I said, screw it. Played it emulated, streamed it with my friend Voice the Dog. Got through the whole game. You know, it was a lot of fun, really interesting, all this stuff. I was doing a podcast on Siren. I tried it as a goof, and what do you know, all of a sudden, this is like last week, it worked. PS4 version has a bunch of trophies. I just played through this really hard stealth survival horror game.
It's not easy, no.
No, it's not. So anyway, I'm playing it again. for the trophies
Oh,
specifically. I might do some of it on stream or whatever. I'm trying to at least spare people stuff I've literally already done. That said, it's like, well, now I got to do it. But to be fair, I do really, really enjoy the game.
That's stuff that I thought took me a really long time. Like, I got all the achievements in Final Fantasy 13 and 13 too.
I've heard the Adamantoise is the big hurdle in that one, right?
Okay, so what it is the Adamantoise is just the super boss. It's whatever. You fight a big boss and that's it. There's strategies to take him down. It's not that bad. What it is held every weapon and accessory. So weapons evolve in that game. Mm-hmm. And what this means is you've held every one of them. So you have to evolve each of the weapons to their second or some of them third forms because the names change. So what it really is grinding the infinite number of materials and money that you need in order to make all those weapons and accessories upgraded. It took forever, but I guess I had a lot of free time because I'm looking at this and I apparently did this game in 21 days. So,
wow,
faster than I thought.
Is there anything like in the back of your head that you might go back and finish off later?
I've never done the speed run achievement for original Nier, and that is the only achievement I don't have in that game. Which, if you want to talk about another game where you have to do a ridiculous fucking amount of grinding.
So, like, would you go back to Nier and just like, okay, I'm going to sit down, I'm going to knock this out in the 5, 10, whatever, how many hours? Like, is that something?
I probably would, and the thing is, I would also make that a stream of just, hey, I'm going to play through Nier in one sitting and get this one achievement that I'm missing. But also, I'm playing through Nier again because Nier's a good game. It's on the short list of games that have made me cry.
Huh.
As a side, I am of course speaking of original Nier, not Nier Automata. Nier Automata, I had the platinum trophy.
I didn't get the platinum in Automata. I should though. I liked Automata.
It's mainly finding materials again. Just like with the original, it's mainly maxing out the weapons that takes forever.
Can't you actually buy all the achievements in it?
You can also do that, yeah. I did it legitimately, but you can also buy all the achievements.
Yeah. I think I might be okay with that in the sense that, like, well, actually, I don't know what they are off the top of my head, but, like, it depends. Some achievements are just crappy and I don't care about. Like, Witcher 3 has stuff like make 10 headshots, which I'm like, why? You know?
Literally, like I said, the only bad one in Nier is the one that requires you to max out all the weapons. All the other ones are like, see all the endings, which are like, just look up a guide, and they're actually kind of fun to see every ending because, you know, there's a handful, like you can count on one hand, number of actual endings, and then there's all these joke endings, like if you eat a fish, you break down because you're an android.
Oh, that's yeah. Sorry, I thought we were still talking about not Automata.
No.
Yeah. Near classic, near vanilla.
Near classic, like I said, both Near classic and Near Gestalt and Near Automata. Both the only really rough achievements in those are collecting all the weapons and maxing them all out. It's just a little too tedious.
What about you, Slowbeef? Anything like you did Little Big Planet? You mentioned that earlier. Is there something else? Anything else on the horizon that you're like looking back, going, maybe I should go back and finish that someday?
Fury, because I really liked Fury. It's a lot of speedrun achievements, like a lot of things like that. But Fury is like a game. I guess technical is not the right term, but like it's a game that it's a lot of fun to play through, and it's a lot of fun to actually try for like good fast runs of, you know what I mean? Like, so that doesn't feel like an achievement they tacked on, just like, why don't you try to beat the game in 2 hours and see what happens? That's like something that seems like it'd be really fun to do. So like working your time down feels like a natural point of the game anyway, if I'm exactly.
Yeah.
If you haven't played Fury, it's a boss rush. Art is done by, I think it's the person who did Afro Samurai. It's a French game.
Okay.
And basically, like, it's 3/4 view, but boss fights are ranged between bullet hell and then like fast action melee, almost like a platinum game in a way. Like, and there's a lot of like parrying and dodging and things like that. But then also they'll step back and shoot at you, and then you have to dodge through bullet clouds. The soundtrack's amazing also. Not a super long game either.
Is there a rating system?
Yes.
See, that is something I will do, but I have to like gear myself up for it. One of my pet peeves is your Devil May Cries or your Resident Evils or whatnot. And I love those franchises; they're fantastic. Mm-hmm. But there inevitably will come that point where it's like, all right, now I got to get the S rank, and that's just gonna fun. Like I've got the 3 of the most recent Resident Evil sitting on my desk. I did 3. I did the 3 make. Mm-hmm. But I've still got 2 and 7. I've still got those sitting there, and it's like I got to go back and get those S ranks, and and I'm sure it's doable. It's just that is the part where like this is not the fun part of the game for me. Like 7 is fantastic. I love that game.
I really like 7. I will say, you know what made the trophy a lot more doable and obviously this is prohibitive, but like I did it in VR. I will say aiming in VR is a million times easier than it's like not quite mouse and keyboard, but it's close. Because like if you need to aim with the plate, I don't know, maybe if I'm just bad at games or something, but I always fat finger like aiming with an analog stick where I'm like overcorrecting and under. I never can get that sweet spot. VR though, I mean you're just like moving your head slightly. It's to aim, and it's like you do it so much easier. But that said, if you're gonna not plat, but if you're gonna 100% it, there's a couple DLC trophies that don't work in VR. So then I had to relearn how to aim, and they are rock hard. It's like there's Ethan Must Die mode, which is a special mode where you like die in like 1-2 hits. Mm-hmm. And yeah, it's not easy, but it's fun. But it takes tries.
Yeah, that one. That is a good example of like a lot of the DLC. They all have what I can best describe as like you're just making a Kaizo mode just for the sake of it.
Yeah.
Like the 2 main story packs, both like the hardest difficulty. You're like now you're just seeing what you can get away with. Ethan Must Die at least was kind of fun, and it like I haven't done it yet. I've gotten to the end. I've gotten to the boss you fight, and I can't make it happen yet. But it still feels natural. Like they've retooled a lot of how the game works and a lot of enemy and item placement, and they've added in a random factor that makes it feel fresh every time. So at least it still feels fun as you're going along with it, as opposed to getting the hardest difficulty, the other must die trophies, as it were. That just feels like, oh, you've cranked all the numbers up, and now I just have to chew through this. And this doesn't feel fun.
Yeah, it's like, I think at the end of Ethan Must Die, and I think probably both of you know what I'm talking about, there's some like things like that where you get it and you feel like good that you did it. You know what I mean? That's like, you get that like, like kind of like, that was great. It was really hard, and I finally did it. And even though you didn't accomplish anything, it feels like you did. But then there's like the ones that you do and you're like, I am so glad that's finally over with. And it doesn't feel good, There's like, so as much as I like Neo, I 100%ed Neo, Platinum and the 100% DLC. I love Neo to pieces. There's a lot of dual boss fights in it where it was completely thoughtless. They were just like, how about this hard boss and this hard boss? And it's just, you have to like really exploit the game to do it. It's not fun at all. The final like DLC is you fight the final 2 bosses of DLC 3 together. This was like as much Neo as I've played, and I'm streaming Neo 2, and I'm honestly do not feel I am bad at the game Neo anymore. But it is just like luck of the draw if you're going to win it or not. Like you exploit everything, but just they'll both spam attacks at you, and it just feels like garbage. You know what I mean? Like, it just doesn't feel good. It feels like, I don't know why I'm doing this. This is nonsense, but whatever. It's done, so I never have to do it again.
That for me, and slowbeef, you know what I'm talking about, was the highway sequences in the Yakuza games on the hardest difficulty. Where it's exactly the same, just you can take way less hits.
And that's like kind of what I was talking about too, where it's like, because that's basically a rail shooter section, But
yeah, it's time crisis.
Yeah, exactly. But you're doing it with an analog stick, and you can't take many hits, and it's just nonsense.
There are moments of you use your weird time stop slowdown special ability that they give you for that, so you can get your cursor across the screen.
Yeah, exactly. I got very lucky. I tweeted you because I got lucky and I got it my second try, and yeah, and I was just like, newbie, look, yay, that kind of thing.
On Kiwami, I spent like an hour because so for reference, what the Yakuza game Legend difficulty is is, on top of it being harder, the one thing that they add to it that I feel does not need to be added at all is you don't get in-game checkpoints anymore. If you die, you have to reload your save.
Mm-hmm.
So
Go on.
in the highway sequence in Kiwami, you start a chapter in combat. You go through 3 combat rooms, then a boss fight, then this chase sequence starts up. So if you fail the chase sequence, you have to do all the fight sequences again. I failed maybe 5 or 6 times my first when I hit it on stream, and literally rage quit the game on stream and just went, I'm playing FF14 for the rest of the stream. I'm doing this off stream with less input delay and whatever. I don't know. I don't want to get mad on stream.
So it has less to do with the trophies and more the game itself, but I love that every time someone pitches the Yakuza series at me, they're always doing it for very different reasons. And so in this case, it's a gunfight on a highway. I'm just picturing things in my head that may or may not be accurate, and it's this pulse pounding action gun shootout John Woo kind of thing. And then I'll have completely other different people be like, well, have you ever wanted to play as like a 40-year-old guy in a disco suit doing like an online sex chat to make money? That's like somehow
Sign me up.
strangely, yeah, like oddly enough, I'm compelled.
Well, like, legit, as an aside, the Yakuza games, I think, have, like, amazing writing. Like, I have Yakuza Kiwami 2 sitting on my shelf, and I need to sit down and start playing that, but, like, the stories are really, really good.
Yeah. I've heard Kiwami 2 is excellent also, like, in terms of the series. I got a question for both of you now, because this is interesting, because I've platinumed Remake, or Resident Evil 2, the remake.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
But the new Resident Evil games, I don't think this is true of 7, but this is true of Remake 2 and Remake 3. They have in-game trophies, right? Many of which do correspond to the like system level, like PlayStation trophies or Steam achievements, but also things above and beyond them. So, for example, like I did the speedrun achievements for Resident Evil 2 and 3 and the hardest difficulty, but I used the quote-unquote cheat items, meaning the game will give you things like an infinite rocket launcher or a thing that auto heals you or makes you hit harder. Not as like you input a code, but as like, hey, you beat it on hard difficulty. Now the item box has some kind of item that you're allowed to use to help you get a trophy if you want. But also beyond, again, not for the PlayStation trophy, but there is an in-game achievement for, hey, you beat the game without any cheat items, or you double S ranked it when you didn't have to for the trophy. I personally don't care about those as much for whatever reason. Like, I couldn't even tell you why. I really only care about, like, what the system level trophies are, like what the registered PlayStation or Xbox achievements are, or Steam.
If I enjoy, it's the same thing. If I enjoy the game, maybe I'll go out my way for those. Great example of that. FF14 has in-game achievements. I have slowly, this is like a very long, drawn-out process. Okay, so little thing about FF14. Any player can be every class. That's the big thing. Many classes, I think at this point they're up to like 17 classes. I wouldn't be able to tell you without being in the game. Every class for the expansion that they're in, so they don't retroactively add them. Each expansion has relic weapons that you can do that are long drawn out grinds. But you get a very strong weapon at the end of it. But at this point, like, a lot of those weapons have been, phased out because power keeps increasing as expansions come out. Each weapon has achievements attached to them. And I have slowly been making each relic weapon, one, to just have, but two, it is nice to get all those achievements.
Yeah.
But it's also like, I enjoy the process of, like, just something to do in my downtime.
You know what? I'm going after one right now, and it's taken me over a month for Tetris Effect, actually, which is like a notoriously difficult trophy. So, and I can go into why, but one of the big reasons is there's you have to double S rank like pretty much everything, and one of them is sprint mode, which I got into the world of like actual like Tetris players, and it's like kind of like a real deal like expert level thing you have to do. Like, you really need to know Tetris, to do it. and you have to get 40 lines in under a minute 10, which is like what I've read is like if you can get under a minute 30, like you're great at Tetris. So like getting it under a minute 10 is like nuts. And like I found a tool that like teaches you like Tetris finesse, it's called, which is like a skill like Tetris speedrunners use. It's like a muscle memory thing to get the pieces to drop where they need to be, so you're not even thinking about that anymore. And I'm having so much fun with it because I feel like I know it's not a real skill, but I feel like I'm actually getting better and better at Tetris, which is a game I thought I was good at, but now I feel like I'm reaching a new level of just for this stupid trophy. I'm like winning Tetris 99 daily now. It's great though.
Hey, just don't worry, because like 3 months from now, you're going to be on Arcade Pit and Tetris is going to come up.
And then you'll get test your smite with Tetris, and you'll show them what's what.
I did that once.
Nice.
But that said, Smite is like objectively better at Tetris than I am. This frustrated the hell out of me. Sorry, I'm still in dad mode. So no, but this because I was telling Smite all about finesse and all these tricks I learned, and he's like, I don't know if I believe all this stuff. So I showed him this finesse tool I've been using, which I do the 40 lines in about 2 minutes. Because the way it works is if you don't place the piece like quote unquote right, like the most efficient way possible, it won't let you drop the piece. It'll like just reset it. Yeah, so I showed him that, and like 10 minutes later, he's like, "Yeah, I got that. I got under a minute 10 in that." And I'm like, "Are you like? I can't believe that. Like, because I can't even get under 2 minutes with that. I'm currently at a minute 16 with it, so I'm still trying.
So close,
so close. It's killing me. Gotta play it right now.
So back to your question. You brought up the Resident Evil, the in-game records. I think they're called in-game.
Yeah, that's it. Records. Yep.
I've done those, and even the ones that don't correspond to the system level achievements, like you were saying. One of the things for me though is with that they have concept art and models, and they're little surface level rewards. That to me I think might tip that sort of thing over, like as opposed to just like doing it to doing it. But here it's like, hey, you get some special features out of it, right? Mm. So like. Spoilers for Resident Evil 3, I guess. It's still relatively new. 3, 2, 1. Okay. The bit with Carlos in the hospital when you're doing that siege at the end.
Yeah.
I replayed that several times on my final run through just because I didn't have enough kills to get one of those records ticked off. So I just would reload, and I had to do that like 3 or 4 extra times just to get the number of zombies taken out. You get the concept art for it. Do you get that like kind of special feature? Does that do anything for you, even though it's technically not a trophy, either of you?
Sometimes, like to an extent, but like I think that over the years that I've actually tried to like curb in a way is the completion side of me, because it is what kept me from moving on from games in a reasonable manner. When I was a kid and I played Mario RPG, I wouldn't fight the final boss until everybody was max level. Which you don't need to do at all. You can beat that boss at like level 15, max level's 30.
Mm-hmm.
It is trying to find like a degree of, all right, well, I want to see everything this game has to offer, but how far out of my way do I want to go for stuff? Which is like a hard balance to try and find.
Yeah, because like with that specific example, functionally what you're doing is you're preventing yourself from seeing the end, from finishing this thing, from having that, from getting that accomplishment for what you've been doing this whole time, basically for the sake of a number.
I think, so it's funny because I kind of mentioned, or I alluded to this, but like, I do wonder how healthy or unhealthy this sort of thing can be, because I feel like there's part of it that actually does sort of hijack a part of your brain that wants to like accomplish something. Like there's something I think that you have that like when you finish a task, like in real life, if you build a thing or finish cooking or something, like you get that little bit of that dopamine hit. Mm-hmm. And I do wonder if like achievements and things like that just tend to hijack it. They make you feel like that human element of you that wants to create or build or what have you, and it's like, I got that feeling of accomplishment. Technically, I didn't do anything. I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. Like you shouldn't have to be like finishing your novel like every day and things like that. And like little goals like that can make you feel better and not do too much harm, as long as they don't like actual substitute like real deal things you want to do, which I will admit, sometimes I feel like they might be.
There's that sort of thing just kind of happening just as a natural, like I don't think that when Microsoft or whoever made the decision, like, oh, we're going to start putting a gamer score. Like, that wasn't really their intention. It was just a fun little thing.
Yeah.
Just an extra little meta level, like, oh, we can, give them something else to play with. But then at the same time, now we've gotten into this age with loot boxes and microtransactions where, like, you can see those two things, like, you can very easily picture these two things being brought together to, like, devastating effect. And I try to stay away from those kinds of games, like, for that reason. I imagine it's being done. I've heard horror stories about people who would, spend a ridiculous amount of money on, like, PlayStation home items, for fuck's sake. Like, I see what Fortnite's been doing lately, and I see what the Battlefront, how they've been working, and that scares the hell out of me, to be honest. Like, if I ended up falling down that hole.
Oh, for sure.
As somebody who streams one once a week, phone games were a mistake.
I think gotcha games absolutely exploit that, for example, because
for the record and the fact that I personally don't know what are gotcha games.
It's a Japanese term that is more or less just attributed to a plethora of games, which it's gotcha being a portmanteau of the little capsule machines, the gachapons.
Oh, okay.
And what it more or less means is it is a game, sort of in that same loot box sort of sense, where there's something that you have to do. You have to collect some currency, and then you spend this currency on a thing to pool something or another. An example of this is Nintendo's Fire Emblem Heroes. It's a very small Fire Emblem-esque game, and you pool on the thing to get characters from the Fire Emblem series.
Okay.
That's a gacha game.
And they're, like, randomly distributed, I imagine.
Yes, sometimes the rates are good, sometimes the rates are abysmal, and sometimes they do some really scummy stuff connected to those rates.
So one of the things too, like if you look at if you read apparently about Skinner boxes, the infamous like mouse presses the button and gets a pellet, a food pellet. Randomization apparently is how you get the mouse to just keep hitting the button, and they'll even accumulate pellets if they're not hungry if it's randomized. I do think, there's something exploitative in a way, like when you talk about, and I'm not necessarily saying gotcha games per se, but there absolutely are people who are doing things with like loot boxes and stuff like that are like, oh, wait a second here. I do agree, like I don't think Microsoft necessarily like had any of that in mind, or whoever came up with the notion of like achievements or what have you. There's possibly a marketing ploy with it in the sense of like, hey, this will increase engagement and keep people playing and talking about the game, but even then, I could say that's not necessarily a nefarious thing, like, or it doesn't have to be,
Like on the softer end of that, I know I think it was one of the Crisis games, online shooters for the most part are not my personal taste, so I don't know very well, but I know there was one I remember reading about. You get an achievement for playing a game on the 60-day anniversary of the day you started the game, or something at least 60 days later. Something to that effect. And what it was it was a way to have people keep the game for 2 months to combat, like, used game sales. It was a way to incentivize you not selling your game to the company that shall not be named for peanuts, and to make sure that they could have those numbers during that crucial initial sales period. And so things like that, like, it's definitely got an agenda behind it, but like you were saying a minute ago, Slowbeef, it's not nefarious, it's part of that kind of marketing ploy and the way to use what they've got to keep things in their favor, I suppose.
Yeah, like certain achievements are just like, hey, I'm trying to think of a good example. Like, I don't know, like let's say like hit an enemy with an environmental effect, or you know what I mean by like shooting a lamp, and it might even help you to realize like, oh, you can do that in the game and like show off cool things that they made. That kind of thing is totally fine, and you could theoretically say that's like engagement or something, but like I think that's totally acceptable. But meanwhile, like something that's like make a really hard achievement that's easier to like use a microtransaction to get by, or there's like, I think there's like levels to it, you know what I mean? So
I am incredibly suspicious of anything like newbie you were saying earlier about the gashapon in the Fire Emblem game, right? Can you Is that in-game currency, or can you like put your wallet onto that as well?
Oh, you bet every gacha game you can buy currency.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, see, that's where it starts to get like...
Every gacha game is generally free to play, so guess how they make profit.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And there are certain games where, that follow that model that I've played. There's Let It Die on the PlayStation 4, if you're not familiar. It's it's vaguely Dark Souls-esque, but it's by Suda51, and it's got that, like, he's one of those guys that gets by a lot on aesthetic and gets by on his style. And you can buy in-game currency out the ass. You can spend all the money you want, but you really don't have to. Like, I've beaten that game, at least the main thing, and I think I spent like $1 up front just to see what it was like, what the in-game currency did.
See, that's the thing, though. A good gacha game, in my book, and a lot of the ones that are still surviving, that's the thing, have the model of you can actually do fairly well in the game and stay pretty, current to the power level, because these games generally are built around power creep, because, how are you going to get players to get more stuff and draw more if there isn't some sort of power creep? You can generally be fine with that as long and stay free to play.
This is like the platonic ideal of one of these.
So to get on this subject real quick,
Okay.
There's one, I'm not going to mention it, but there's one that I looked into pretty recently. Actually, you know what, fuck it, I won't mention it because I've talked enough shit on my own streams about this game. So there's one that came out around the same time as the one that I stream. I stream Final Fantasy Record Keeper. And around the same time, Final Fantasy Brave Exvius came out, which is the one that they will actually put ads for that one way more than Record Keeper.
I've seen ads all over the place for Exvius. What's Record Keeper, this thing you speak of? I've never heard of it until just now.
Record Keeper is more of a... It goes to that, like all the art in it is like Final Fantasy VI style. And it's still the same thing of, like, we just put, like, every Final Fantasy character in this game, and you draw for weapons to unlock super moves on them, and that's about it. It's neat. I like it. That's all I'll say. You could look up videos for it. But Brave Exvius it's a weirdly different one. It's more turn-based and all that. But the big thing that I found out recently that sucks a whole lot of ass. So they have 3 types of units that you can generally draw. There's 3-star, 4-star, and 5-star units. 3 stars are more or less worthless. 4-star can be good, and 5-star it's the current power level. All units can uncap 2 times, so 3 stars can eventually become 5 stars, 4 stars can become 6 stars, and 5 stars can become 7 stars. The upgrade from a 5-star to a 6-star is materials that are rarer, but are easy enough to find in game. And then, and I kid you not, upgrading a 6-star to a 7-star requires you to have a dupe of the character. So you need to pull that character twice from the gacha machine in order to uncap them to 7-star. There are other ways around it, but that is the main mechanic, is have 2 of the same character. And also, the characters in that game are like gigantic. I looked at it briefly, there's like 2,000 different characters. Again, sort of, this is where it circles back. The completionist aspect of that is like, well, I want to get every character in the game. And it's like, well, good fucking luck, unless you are willing to put out a whole bunch of money.
So you've got to draw and beat those odds, and even beating those odds you're not done. You got to do it again.
The odds to get any one specific 5-star character is 0.028%. 5 stars in general is a 5% chance. You have a 5% chance to get any 5-star, but a specific 5-star is 0.028.
So that's squared if you want to get the same character twice, which goes like, so that's like, I think at least 2.00, whatever 28 squared is.
You can either take all that time, or we'll happily take your money to make it easier. That's the nefariousness there. And I know me, like, I would want to do that. If there was a trophy or an achievement tied to that, I would definitely want to do that, and that would affect my purchase. And you know what? It might be that outside of that whole system that you just described, maybe Final Fantasy Exvius or Brave Exvius or it might be a fantastic game outside of all that. It would, I don't know if I would ever, know that. The one that springs to my mind that I did recently was Fallout Shelter. Fits exactly the same kind of mold. You can get all of the characters from the Fallout, or not all of, but all your old favorites from the Fallout games. I've never actually played a Fallout game outside of this one, so I don't really know the litany very well. And they are randomized, but they're slightly better stats wise than just your basic dudes and dudettes that live in your shelter, but other than that, they're just cosmetic. Aside from that little thing where it's ridiculously difficult to get these people, the game's phenomenal. I had a great time with it. I bought $20 worth of online crap just to give them some money because I felt bad for, not buying this thing because it was free. So there is that weird line where, like, if they're going to do these kinds of shady whale fishing systems, as whatever you want to call them, like, can they at least attach them to games that I wouldn't want to play?
I guess, to be totally fair, I guess, and I don't know if you'd both agree, I don't know if, like, that, like, kind of whale fishing stuff necessarily, I don't know if it's the same demographic as, like, achievement hunting people, per se, like, because for me, the only, like, I know we talked about cheating with, like, servers and stuff, but, like, that typically I find is a case where you can't get it legitimately, like Tetris Effect, if there was a way I could cheese the 110, not cheese, but if I had to, like, literally cheat the 110-minute sprint thing, I don't think I would do it. There's, like, it's hard to know where that line is, or even if, like, I could just buy it, I don't know that I would. Like, I kind of want to get that. I kind of want to earn that in a way, and it's weird because I'll give you an example. In Yakuza, there's Yakuza Kiwami, there's an achievement for, I think it's like walking 5 kilometers or running 5 kilometers. And for that one, I took a shoelace and a big, like, speaker, and I pulled the analog stick and, like, with the shoelace, like, tied it around and, like, held it under the speaker and, like, kind of did it in a way that, like, it was holding, I had Kiryu walking into a wall endlessly, which, like, upped his walking so that would get over 5K. And I got the achievement that way. And that I didn't feel like I was cheating, really, because it was just a very grindy achievement. Or Tetris Effect, there's one where if you spin the Tetris block a million times, and I used a fight stick with auto for that. These feel like fair game in the sense that, like, they're just kind of senseless, grindy achievements. So who really cares? But, like, something that's, like, beat a boss and, I don't know that I'd ever want to, like, use auto hotkey or, I don't know, like, or buy my way past that. That feels like it's crossing a line for some reason. Like, I'm being challenged to do something and subverting it in a really bad way,
The reason to do it in Yakuza, and this is actually a subject that I want to link to as well, is Yakuza has both out-of-game and in-game achievements. They're very, very different. Like, the in-game ones are more like stuff that, for the most part, you'll complete over the course of the game. But, like, also, you got to go out of your way to play every minigame and do a certain objective in each minigame sort of thing. You get points on those that you can spend for in-game bonuses. Which, like, so the other thing of, this is less, like, achievement completionist thing, but it is a thing that I wish they would come back, because the game that I think of initially with this is Dead Rising, of achievements give you things in game. The example of this is in Dead Rising, you do the thing where you kill the thousands of zombies, the one that's the population of the town that it's based off of, you get the Mega Buster, which is just a gun that I think has infinite or near infinite ammo and blows stuff up. Like, it's just a very good weapon. And that was cool. Because I like getting the achievement, but also, hey, I unlocked a cool thing.
Yeah, exactly. It made the achievement feel worthwhile, maybe?
Yeah.
Uplay used to have a similar kind of... Yeah. They used to do a similar thing for the Assassin's Creed games, and others, I'm sure, but Assassin's Creed was really the only time I ever interacted with this, where, like, for getting certain achievements, if you had it linked up to your Uplay account, now Ezio can hold, like, 5 more throwing knives. Or...
you got your Uplay points.
Yeah, which you could spend on, in-game items. Would the fact that like, and Resident Evil actually is currently doing a similar kind of thing with their RENet service. It doesn't translate to in-game stuff, but there is a whole like, have you gone onto RENet and checked how that looks? Either of you?
No, actually.
I have not.
You sync up your accounts. I think it started with the HD collection, the GameCube RE1 and 0 port. It might have started earlier than that, but that's the first time I saw it. Anyway, you sync up your account, and it updates from your PlayStation or your Xbox or your Steam or however you're engaging with it. And they have a whole gamut of achievements and goals and things, and some of them are global. Some of them are things like, in RE7, there's one for like total global walking the distance around the Earth, like at the equator or something, just like silly things like that. But then there's a point system, and you can use that to unlock more concept art and more, behind the scenes kind of thing. Back to, that seems to be RE, like Capcom's new thing with them, just like here's all the special features type stuff. But, and then Uplay having it back, with actual in-game items. Would that third party, but would that be a deal breaker? Is that one step too far, maybe?
You mean like check on a website, that kind of thing?
Yeah, or having to just like have having to have Uplay or, another
I see
another
what you mean.
system involved.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I think the answer is yes. And it's hard to, I guess, articulate why I feel that way, because I do feel like this is all just arbitrary as is. Like, I have no reason really that I'm going after PlayStation trophies rather than Xbox achievements and Gamerscore, or even going down my Steam list and just like 100%ing everything, because why the heck not, And it's weird because it also it does influence what platform I buy a game on sometimes,
Oh yeah.
Because I could have waited for the PC version of Neo 2, but I really like Neo, and B, hey, I'm happy to platinum Neo 2, honestly. So, but that anyway. But I don't know, I feel like I wouldn't go out of my way for a new achievement ecosystem per se. If it happened kind of organically, where it's like I got a new thing and it has achievements and things like that, then I could fall into it like that. You know what I mean? But I wouldn't go out of my way and say,
Okay, so you said this, but I'm gonna release curse knowledge into your brain.
Okay.
There's an emulator called Retro Achievement. That is just it's just an emulator that does a bunch of old systems. Like Mega Drive, 64, SNES, Game Boy Advance, all that kind of stuff. Then it has achievements built in.
But wait, how do you make the achievements and things like that?
It connects to a server or some shit when you're playing the game on it. They're submitted and curated by the community.
Oh my god, that's so good. Retro achievement?
Yes.
Oh, newbie, why? Oh,
hell yeah. Fuck yeah. Which brings me to another subject that was on this of tangentially. And this is actually something that has changed my opinion of, am I going to get the platinum in this game or not? Which is RPGs that require more than one playthrough to get the platinum. The one that I think off the top of my head is Persona 5. Because the Persona games really like to make their super bosses only fightable on New Game Plus, which sucks.
That does suck.
I have never fought a Persona super boss because of that.
Actually, what does come to mind on that, and this was back in the day I had PlayStation 2, I had Star Ocean, Till the End of Time, the third one. That had a whole, they called them battle trophies, but it was just a whole in-game achievement system. I think it took an entire separate space on your memory card just to store the data.
Yep.
But it did require to beat the game, which would unlock the next difficulty. And I think you had to beat it 3 or 4 times total just to get all of the difficulty levels unlocked. And then within that, they had their own ridiculous, beat the final boss in less than 10 minutes using only the starting gear, kind of nonsense.
Yep.
And then I found out there was an HD port of that for the PlayStation 4. I will not be playing this game. I've done my time. I didn't get all the battle trophies. I didn't even come close. And I don't feel like I need a second shot at that.
Yeah, I feel like anything that's like 100+ hours, I don't know if I'm gonna do. Like, I'll give you. It's funny because like everyone tells me Monster Hunter World is like, don't even bother with it, because it like takes so long or whatever, and it's all luck based. But I'm okay with maybe like doing a thing where I'll play like half an hour of it a day, that kind of thing. And
The problem with getting the platinum on Monster Hunter World is two things.
Yeah.
One, the load times on the PlayStation version suck.
Yep, they do.
And the second one is one of the achievements is connected to RNG chance that you don't find out if you hit the successful part of it until you have finished the mission, which is you have to get big. So the monsters can have various sizes. You have to get the big gold and small gold of every monster in the game.
Yeah,
and you don't find out if you hit that until you have killed the monster. So good luck grinding a monster for literally 100 hours.
I mean, again, it was, for me, it's like the notion that it's so hard is what is kind of, but it's also the notion that it's not really hard per se. It's that that's the thing. It's like, oh, that sounds really hard to do, I might be in. And then it's like, well, that doesn't sound hard. It just sounds like
it's tedious. It's not difficult.
Yeah.
It's like
exactly right.
The other Uncharted one, Uncharted 3, has a trophy where you got to get these treasures. You got to fill out a whole list because Nathan Drake loves his shinies. And
oh, that's right. I forgot about those.
Some of them have like ridiculous drop rates, and the systems by which they drop are not very transparent. Like, I've Googled all over trying to figure out what the rules were behind what drops where and how often, and it's very, very suspect. It's not hard.
I didn't realize that. I thought they were always in set locations. They're random, like they're RNG based or drops or something.
So some of them are tied to certain game modes, and people have been able to determine, like, this group is definitely tied to, playing elimination. And some of them say as much. But there's also, between playing in online matches or playing, I forget what it's called, but the 3-person survival mode. Okay. Where you gotta beat, like, so many waves of enemies. You can step outside. There's a mode in, getting twisted over my words. So there's a survival mode where you have to survive 15 waves or something like that. Each wave has its own set of rules. One of those rule sets is called Siege, where you have to stay within a certain confined space and kill X number of badmans. If you step outside the space, you can kill and kill and kill, but since you're not in the zone, it won't count, and you can do that theoretically forever. Sometimes those will still drop treasures, even though you're not in the ring. Some of those treasures have overlap with treasures in Team Deathmatch and other modes, but it's not exactly clear what is necessarily in what, and it becomes kind of fuzzy. This is all also moot because those servers have shut down too, but... So that kind of thing, like, I definitely put like 60 hours into that, just randomly killing guys over and over and over again. It wasn't difficult. Like, I wasn't testing my skills to make it happen. I can point a cursor at a thing and push a button over and over. But it definitely was tedious, and I think there's a line to be drawn there too.
Oh, for sure, yeah. One like achievement I'm kind of like, I think is kind of an interesting thing was for Yakuza 0. Actually, I think all the Yakuza games have mahjong achievements, and you have to learn how to play Reach Mahjong specifically. This is the tricky part because it's called Reach Mahjong or Riichi Mahjong. It's transliterated Riichi, but you might also like see it as reach, like as in to reach for something. The trick to Riichi Mahjong or Japanese Mahjong is that like Chinese Mahjong works like Jin Rummy insofar as you get 14 tiles and you have to make 4 triplets in a pair, and the triplets like Jin Rummy can be a straight of the same suit, like 4, 5, and 6 of the same suit, or a triple, like 3 4s, you know. But Japanese Mahjong decided that wasn't complicated enough, so you need that. Plus, you need like a special rule. Like you need to either do a thing where you never open your hand, meaning you never take an opponent's tile unless that's your last move to win and get sumo, or the tiles you get are not just arranged in those 4 like triplets, but those 4 triplets mean something. Like they correspond to different tiles you can get for the different winds or the dragons, etc. It's extremely complicated, and then there's a scoring system on top of it. So and there's no real good way to cheese the Mahjong trophies in Yakuza. So what I did was I downloaded a Mahjong app and like actually kind of learned how to play Mahjong. And another trick you can do, which is fun, is that there's people online who watch Yakuza streams and will help people play Mahjong. And
not because they have video games, just because they are good at Mahjong, the actual game.
Yeah, the person who helped me was named Mahjong Fairy, and I saw them on Twitter later helping out, I think, Wooly from Super Best Friends, and I'm like, Mahjong Fairy, like I know you, I remember. So, hooray for Mahjong Fairy is the point of the story here.
Now I lucked out, and and I will admit this freely, due to an anime I watched in college, I learned how to play Mahjong a really long time ago. So when that came up, I was like, yes, I understand these shapes.
I mean, I like most American kids, I thought Mahjong was that game where you got to match the things and pull the bricks down 2 by 2.
Correct, American Mahjong.
And then later on, gangsters play it and accuse each other of cheating, and everybody pulls out a gun and shoots each other. But so you got an achievement, but you actually like learned, and like that is something of like a real world skill developed.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Except for shogi. Fuck shogi. I'll cheat at shogi.
I learned how to play shogi, but it's like chess, meaning that yeah, you can learn how to play, but if you want to beat an AI opponent at shogi, like good friggin' luck to you, And that one, so I learned how to play it, but I don't mind that I cheesed it, because that one I would recommend cheesing it.
Is shogi like another version of Mahjong, or is this a totally different
it's Japanese chess? Is the best way to say it.
It's a 9x9 grid. A lot of the pieces, interestingly, like not that they correspond, but like there's like kind of a rook cognate and a bishop cognate and a queen cognate, and every piece can get promoted. And then there's like silver generals and gold generals, which have wacky move sets. Like I think silver generals can go behind them diagonally and forward diagonally. So almost like a pawn in a way in chess. But then you can upgrade them to gold generals, which can hit sides, forward diagonals, straight behind, but not back diagonals. And then the weirdest part of shogi is if you capture an opponent's piece, you get that piece, and then you can just put it anywhere on the board that you like, including like right next to the king. And it's the same kind of thing as chess where you want to capture the king via like checkmate, Like
infinitely more doable if you have the power, just like, oh, and my queen is right next to you now.
Exactly. Yeah, you would totally think that, wouldn't you? I thought so, but it's interestingly a little more complicated than that. The thing is, like, if you have to win, I think, like 5 games of shogi for Yakuza 0, and even if you play on easy difficulty, like chess takes a bit, and shogi's no different, Or what you do is they have like a challenge mode where it's like you can play a game of shogi where your opponent has a king and 1 pawn, and you have the full set. And that to me is like, that's fine. I learned how to play shogi, but frankly, I now know not to play shogi. So
turns out shogi's fake. And
Yeah.
I also did that. Of just not for me. Thank you. I enjoy Mahjong and will play hours of Mahjong. Shogi, I could give or take shogi.
Yeah. So the shogi and mahjong equivalents in these games, like, are the rules you play by in game, are they?
Yeah.
They
are.
Oh,
It's the real ass rules. Yeah.
It's the straight. Okay, because in like going back to Resident Evil 7, there's one of the DLCs where you can play blackjack, kind of.
21,
sorta?
right? But no.
It's a very, very modified version of, like, heavily modified version of blackjack, but you can kind of learn some of the principles involved in blackjack. Oh, Assassin's Creed 3, on the other hand, like, you're just playing checkers, or Fanarana, or Mancala. But regardless, like, it sounds like it's the same kind of thing as the shogi and the mahjong, where, like, yeah, you've gotta beat these little mini games, to get the trophy or to get the points or to whatever, but you're also like learning how to play a thing.
No, absolutely, yeah. I mean, it's rare when that kind of thing happens, but like when it does, it's fun. The Mega Man Legacy Collection achievements require you to do these like certain kinds of quests, but they also like require you to learn like interesting like speedrun tactics for the game, you know? Not that this is like useful information and I would rank it maybe below learning how to play Mahjong, but still like you do at least feel like I'm not wasting my time with something like turn a Tetris piece 1,000,000 times, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Which is like there's just like certain things that are just like you are not being respectful of my time.
What are y'all working toward at the moment? What do you?
I have recently fallen down the La Milana pit. I have finally just recently played through that game for the first time blind, and each week in between sessions of streaming it, was like, I just want to play more La Milana. So eventually, after like the third session, I bought the PS4 version and then looked at the achievement list and then went, okay, how do I make myself not blast through? I got it. Hard mode, okay, but what if I went hard mode and can't use sub weapons on bosses? Yes.
Oh, yeah, this is the trick, right? Where you try the most efficient way to do it, and it ends up making it obscenely hard. Good idea, but
all I can say is fuck Elmick. He's a terribly designed boss, completely awful. Thrill Lizard is, I hate him.
Trying to make it as efficient as possible. I'm just now getting to Human Revolution. I'm perpetually behind on a lot of things. There's achievement for don't kill anybody. There's achievement for beat it on hard, and there's an achievement for never get seen. You know, do a total ghost run. And I have just recently had to like talk to myself about this, because right now, obviously, the easiest way to do those are play it on hard, don't get seen, don't kill anybody. And I'm about a quarter of the way through the game on that, and I'm spending more time in the real world, reloading old saves and trying it again and again and again because I keep fucking it up because it's on hard, where I am now just like, okay, I'm going to finish the hard mode run and then I'm just going to have to play the whole damn game a completely extra time, because I'm pretty sure even doing it that way is not going to take as much time as it would to constantly be reloading and trying the same levels over and over again without getting seen and without killing anyone.
So related to that, and this was actually the like I planned out what's the most efficient way to go about this. In La Milana, there's an achievement for killing every boss without using a sub weapon, just using main hand weapons, and that's it.
Okay.
There is also an achievement for getting. So there's sort of pseudo in-game achievements for like if you do certain objectives, more characters show up in the credits sequence. And there's an achievement for getting every character in the credit sequence, which includes playing on hard mode. I'm doing these two runs separately because killing all the bosses, because one of them is beat the game in another 10 hours. Beating all the bosses without sub-weapons makes the game way harder. There's just legitimately bosses that are designed for you to use sub-weapons on them.
I was gonna say, like, I remember, like, because I never finished La Milana, but I do remember playing. I did play a bunch of it, you know, blind. But I remember there's like some bosses that are like, yeah, you need a sub weapon for that. How would that even work? You know, like you're meant to throw a thing here.
How it works is you can do a lot of that game without fighting any bosses. So the first boss I fought, which was the first boss, I just went right into, and it took me about 20 minutes to finally kill it, which the bosses in that game on a killing run are maybe about 2 minutes long. So it took a bit. I did not kill a second boss until I had 200 something health, and the health cap in that game is like 330 something, and you get like 32 health every time you get a pickup. So yeah, I kind of did a lot of the game before I fought the second boss. It was real open-ended. It's wild. And once you know, like, that, the other fun thing of doing the hard mode run and not using sub weapons is trying to actually figure out, like, okay, how much can I do without having to fight bosses? Like, where can I get to? Because, you know, in the blind playthrough, I just did whatever was there in front of me. It's a more interesting way of going about the game.
I just got the Mega Man X Legacy Collection, which basically required you to play 1 through 4, and it wasn't nothing terrible, really, you know, a couple annoying things. But Mega Man X Legacy Collection 2, which is Mega Man X 5 through 8, which I hear are maybe not the top tier of Mega Man X games.
It's one
I
and a half
didn't
good
even know
games.
the X series went that high.
They go up to 8, apparently.
5 is okay. 6 and 7 are trash fires. 8 is all right.
I remember personally I stopped after 4, but it was entirely because I couldn't deal with the puns with the names.
Coward. They're so good. They fucking in the Legacy Collection, they retranslated the names in 5 to be the proper names and not the Guns N' Roses references. So Duff McWhalen doesn't exist anymore, and it's such a perfect name. I'm mad.
Oh, maybe it was 5 then, because yeah, Duff McWhalen was definitely the one that made me go and Axel the Red, and
It's so
Allegedly,
good.
the guy named him that to like impress his girlfriend. Is the I think the like the
Actually,
urban myth.
I've heard it's the other way around. A girlfriend did it for
Oh.
her husband or boyfriend at the time.
Okay.
and that's how.
Well,
you
then it's
prove your
okay.
love.
No, I'm joking. That's so weird, though.
Duff McWhalen is so good.
Sorry, what were you gonna? The other two I'm going for is I want 100% Blasphemous because I really like that game, but that's all like collectathon nonsense. And Siren because I really like it, and PS4 version suddenly works for me now. So whatever, fine.
Cool. I'm wrapping up the Metal Gear Solid collection because I did Death Stranding, and I just had this like I needed to fill that like little nostalgic Kojima hole in my heart afterward. And the Deus Ex Human Revolution is what I'm working on when I get tired of grinding fucking VR missions.
I did Death Stranding too. Yeah, a lot of. I didn't like it toward the end. Honestly, I felt like it was a lot of like, okay, for God's sakes, here's your S rank version of things. Who needs this? Blah blah blah. But actually, the 5-starring everything is what bugged me. I liked it, but yeah.
So what I was thinking, because back to Newbie, you were talking about going through Mala Mulana, and we were talking about efficiency and runs. I'm assuming the two of you are familiar with Power Picks and PSNP and the more popular guide sites.
Yeah, I Power Picks, yeah, and then PSNP is what you call it. That's a good name. That's a good abbreviation, actually. Yeah.
Oh yeah, PSN profile. Yeah.
Yep.
I actually use PS4trophies.org.
Mm-hmm.
Huh.
I like it because if a game has been out long enough, they will actually write a trophy guide for the game on there. So generally, I'm also behind on games, so I can easily like look up Castlevania Requiem of Blood and trophy guide. And it's like this is like the most efficient way to go through the game.
Yep.
So is that do you consult that guide like as part of your purchase for example?
No, I've gotten to the point where I don't look at like, oh, I can't get all the achievements in this anymore. But I will, when I start up a game, look at the guide and be like, is it feasible to do all the Chivos in this? And then like if it is, I'll be like, yeah, maybe I'll do this one. Maybe I'll platinum this one. Is generally the way I go about it now.
Because personally, I will look at the guide mostly because at the top of most of them they have a nice X out of 10 difficulty and approximate time commitment type thing up front.
Yeah.
I will take some of that into context, but then I do make it a point to, aside from those very broad numbers, regardless of what the efficiency path is, regardless of recommended number of play, yada yada, I am going to just put the damn thing in. I'm going to sit down. I'm going to play the fucking game at least once because I still have to make sure there were people who worked on this thing. There was an intended experience. I'm not gonna gonna sacrifice at least that initial experience for the sake of I'll go through it 3 or 4 times, afterwards, and maybe not like it anymore by the time I'm done. But that first time through.
So the biggest thing, and this was that personal revelation that I came to all those years ago, and then I'll say to anybody who ends up watching this one way or another, don't let achievements consume you. Just, be willing to just sit down and play a game and be like, I'm not going to get everything in this. Because then you won't play games. You won't play some good games because they're stupid and dumb and the achievements are bad.
I don't want you to make it sound like, too, that I only buy PlayStation games for the trophies. Because, Neo 2, I was going to play it no matter what, Because I really love Neo. And I loved Neo before I got into trophy stuff. But that said, one thing I will do is I'll check the trophy guide just to see if there's anything that's annoyingly missable.
That, yes.
And I typically don't really care that much for spoilers or anything, but so that's my only caveat with that. But yeah. But I mean total agreement too. I'll probably never 100% blasphemous, but I don't really care if I do. Siren doesn't seem like it's like so bad because it's mostly like in line with in-game sort of things, and there's one or two neat ones like beat the stage in under 55 seconds, which I feel like, especially the stage you're talking about, I'm like, how do you do that? So I'm like, kind of like there seems like there's thought put into it. Mega Man, like the Mega Man Legacy Collection didn't have anything really great that I remember. Mega Man X Legacy had sort of odd ones, like okay, there's one like defeat any of the 8 Maverick bosses without like their weakness, which like on the one hand sounds like, hey, that's really good, but then you realize, no wait, you have to do that. You can't actually avoid that trope. You know what I mean?
What it should have had was do a playthrough where you beat everyone without their weaknesses, or
totally agreed. Yeah,
or Buster Duel every boss.
That's exactly. I totally agree with that, and I ended up doing that for fun, because there's also like a thing at MagFest. But I think that's like it was a really missed opportunity. There's a really bad one, which is like view 20 like images in the gallery and select a secret wallpaper for the stage achievement. Which like,
Yay.
okay, I get you want me to look at the gallery, so how about just give me like a bronze trophy for look at the gallery? You know what I mean? Like, don't give me busy work on top of it. Or there was one I remember because I was streaming it and I couldn't get the plat on stream because it was play 11 music tracks, which means you have to like sit there and.
Can you set up a playlist at least, or do you have to like wait for the song to finish, queue up the next one and the next one? And...
So you can, and the but is that if your DualShock goes to sleep, then the song stops.
Oh.
Hell yeah. That's awful.
So what you got to do is, let it go on its own, come back in like 20 minutes or so, hit play again. And I only had to do it once, to be fair, but still.
Well, it's just like tying the shoestring around, like you were saying earlier. Like now we've got to,
but that one at least like that one I felt a little clever for, Actually, for the million Tetranimo pieces, the Tetramino rotations thing is this has happened after the whole like coronavirus shelter in place thing. So a lot of controllers are out of stock. So I was like, okay, I probably can't buy a turbo controller. So I was gonna jury rig something with a power drill and Q-tips, and like have my power drill like rotate a bunch of Q-tips at the end of the bit, and hit the controller button there, like tape it in place and stuff. And I was like, to be totally fair, I thought that'd be like a funny thing to do like on Twitter or something, you know what I mean, or something like that. But then I mentioned my plan, and somebody on Twitter was like, why don't you just use your fight stick and like set it to auto? And I'm like, oh yeah, that would work too. So I just did that.
Because it doesn't give you the memes. That's why.
That's right, exactly. Where's the social media engagement from that, I asked you? It's nowhere.
Time and date settings. That's the thing I usually end up having to quote unquote cheat on. Batman Arkham Asylum is the go-to example.
I was about to mention that in Arkham City is one of the few times I've ever air quotes cheated for an achievement. But the calendar man, where you have to talk to him on 12 specific days.
Yeah,
right,
I'm not marking out my schedule.
I think I cheated on that. I kind of don't remember, truthfully, but.
I don't know. Like, I would like to meet the person who did that legit, honestly. I would like to see, so you would have had to have, like, set reminders, and, it became a thing you based your year around.
Yeah, right?
Like...
Or you'd have to play Arkham City every day, and not even know which ones are which, you know what I mean? And then finally say,
they don't tell you in game. Like, there's nobody that figures that out randomly.
Oh, God, yeah. I didn't even think about who was the first one to discover, how did this get discovered? Like, the answer is probably someone broke the code and, like, looked at a string of something, but...
Right. Or I guess if it's like, if you figure out it's holidays, you could probably just set it to a bunch of them and say, like,
well,
okay,
one is really fucking weird. Like, I'm gonna look it up real quick.
Like Saint Lucian's feast day or something, like, ridiculously obscure.
There's a single tear rolls down my eyes as I, celebrate St. Lucian's feast day every year. No, but
it is...
I'm sorry.
Halloween, Thanksgiving, Christmas, New Year's, Valentine's, St. Patrick's, April Fool's, Mother's, Father's, Independence, St. Roche's Day.
St. Roche's Day, that's it.
And 4th of July. Or no, Labor Day, sorry. I already said thing. Yeah, but St. Roche's Day. Of like, who the fuck knows what St. Roche's Day is?
Wonder Man, obviously.
And like slowbeef, because we accidentally made him
We
cry.
celebrated, right?
I
Yeah.
insulted his religion, and I feel really bad about it now.
Single tier.
Single
I wouldn't
tier.
call it a full-on cry.
But then stuff like Stanley Parable, I think didn't that have something like don't play the game for like 6 years or something? And,
Yeah.
Yeah, which whips. I love that achievement. I know that upsets people that want 100%, but I fucking love that there's an achievement that's just like, don't play this game for 5 years. Just
It
don't.
upsets people. You could cheat that one, right? Like,
Yeah.
who cares?
I did.
Cares? I didn't, but not for any good reason.
That one though, I think like the devs put it in there, like knowing, like given the tone of that game.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
Like hell, they've got one in there. There's one in there that's I don't remember what it's called, but it's literally they never tell anyone how it works. It will randomly change how it works, and the only consistent way is to go into the source code and like manually change the variable. I want to thank you both for having this chat with me. This was a lot of fun. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah, thanks. Thank you everyone who tuned in to listen, and yeah, take care of yourselves out there. I'm Raqus. With me has been Slowbeef and WanderingNewbie, and who's good at signing off? I always just kind of ramble until I click the button and sound like a weirdo.
We actually made it. Do you want to know the
That sounds about right.
I did calculate them earlier.
If you get their way, I will find you.
I hope neither of you realized that I was actually like trying to grind siren trophies while we were doing this, but
You sneaky bastard.